Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Sim with the Rudeman, and we've got the game all hot and ready to go, so let's jump into the world. We're going to take a passenger trip today. We're leaving from South Carolina. Let's see, what airport was that? Look at my flight plan here. All right, there's the flight plan. We're traveling from Charlotte, South Carolina, down to Atlanta with the load of passengers. All righty. Let's get the show on the road. So, KCLT, Charlotte. Let's find a place to park. All right, there's a large. Let's try that. All right, looks like we got some weather this morning. Okay, Microsoft had an update today, so let's keep our fingers crossed that things aren't messed up. So, first of all, there we are. There's our plane. We're flying Delta today. And, wow, this is going to be hard to get out of here. I think we can make it through there. All right. Well, let's get this show on the road, I guess. First of all, we are dark and cold. There's nothing running. So we get to go through our checklist and get things going here. Let's start off by putting a little power on. Okay, so first off, let's turn our batteries on, 1 and 2, and that'll give us enough power to at least turn on our computer. All right, there's our flight plan. KCLT to KATL Atlanta, Jackson. Let's import the sim brief, our flight plan that we had prepared. Should be there. There it is, right there. Cool beans. We'll go to the ground, and I don't think it does anything if I hit that. I think I've already got it. Let's check and see if we've got ground power. Yes, we do. We have external power, so let's save our batteries and get that going right away. And we need to turn our ADIRS in. That's going to take about 6 minutes to load. So that's our GPS stuff. And let's get the crew some air. Put some air in the cockpit. Let's see, what else do we need to do? Let's, well, we'll turn our strobe light on and our logo nav light on. And let's check our emergency lights. We're gonna arm those. Everything's copacetic for the time being, except for let's turn up a little bit of lights here in case we run into some dark clouds. Okay, let's look at our cockpit. We do have power, but as you can see, we don't have GPS system yet. We have to wait about 6 minutes for those things to heat up. So while we're doing that, we'll put our flight plan in. Let's kick our lights up a little bit while we're here. All right, and then let's look at this. Everything looks okay to start with. Let's kick our lights up a little bit so we can see these monitors. A little dim. And then let's kick the light up on the MCDU. which is called something different every plane you're in. All right, look at the engine throttle. We've got our weather radar is off. Our shear is off. We got the speed brake is unarmed. Did I just arm it? It's unarmed now. We will arm it, but not now. Flaps are up. We got our cockpit doors open. Parking brakes are on. And the TCAS is off and on standby. Let's kick our lights up here a little bit so we can see things. And here. All right, and now we can start entering some stuff. Let's go to our computer. Take one quick look outside and see what's going on. All right. Noon's a good time for me. All right, let's get the catering out of the way. There's a cater truck. I've got another program that I normally use, but I've got it off right for the time being. I'm working on getting a little bit more computer power before I run everything that I've got. So he's going to be putting the cater stuff in right there. While the catering's being done, let's double check and see where we're at on GPS. It's still not up yet. So let's go back in and start doing some fuel. All right, so we've got our flight plan is calling for 12,620 pounds of fuel. And put that on reel and start that process. Looks like it's going to take about 4 minutes to fuel the rig. Now we've got to get our fuel in before we start getting passengers in. All right, GPS just came online. That means we can start entering. So let's start here. At the MCDU, we're going to go to Eitsu and the menu and init, and then we're going to request this brought over from SimBrief. And there we are, United Airlines Flight 50 from KCLT to KATL. All right, next we're going to go to init. And again, we're going to request that information from SimBrief. And there it is. Very good. Go to flight plan. All right, we're starting off here in North Carolina. Departure. And our flight plan says, I've got a couple ways to see that. I can either bring the flight plan over that I'm looking at on the other monitor, or I could hit my onboard computer and get the flight plan right here. Okay, for me, it's actually easier to get it because I can see it. You can't, but I can. So we'll just go from that. All right, first of all, we are looking at leaving on 36C. So let's find 36C right there. That's the runway we're leaving on. And we're looking for Bob Z 4. That's it right there. And then, okay, our transition's going to be Tinsley. We got a runway, SID, and trans, and all we need to do is insert that. Let's go to our arrival. And we're looking to arrive on 26R. There's 26L, 26R. All right, and then we're looking for Aussie. There it is, right there. And I don't think we have a VIA. So we'll click that. All right, we're going to insert that. All right, so then I can see right away we've got a problem, but we'll check that in a second. Let's get back. Put our full flight plan in. Here's the start. We've got a manual here, and then we've got a discontinuity before we get to lock-in. And what that means is the computer can't find a way from here to there. So it wants us to manually take care of that. So first of all, I'm going to clear out my notepad down here. This last line here is your notepad. Anything you type in here is going to show up here. So I had to clear that out. We're going to put clear, and we're going to clear out manual. And then now we can get rid of that. So we can hit clear again and get rid of that. And let's go down and see if there's another one. There is. Okay, there's one between Tinsley and Levi. So we're going to just see if we can clear that out. All right. So basically, we just told the computer that we want to go from point A to point B because it couldn't figure that out. So for whatever reason. And now let's just look at that. Go to the bottom. There's another one. Let's clear that. And that's the end of the flight plan. All right, let's take a look at that. And you'll do that by pulling up this right here, but we need to change that to plan, our flight plan. And let's pop it out a little bit. And then we'll come down here. So we can see both that and our computer. And then we're going to run down here and look. Right now it's looking at this runway right here. That's where we're starting. So let's see if we got a complete flight plan. So far everything looks good. And it looks good all the way to Atlanta. It looks good. Great. That's what you want to see. Put this back up into ARC. We got our flight plan in. What's next? Back to the computer. We are now going into init and page B. And we need to enter this information, but we're not ready for that yet. Let's go and take a look at our, computer here. Okay, let's go from fuel to payload now. We got fuel in. Let's take care of the payload. Make sure we've got the correct information over from SimBrief. There it is. That took a minute. That's kind of weird. All right, we're going to load the plane in real time just for fun. If you're gonna use this kind of stuff, you might as well make it legit as it can get. So let's start the boarding process. Now that we got people coming on, we need to set the seatbelt light on and this no smoking. Now the no smoking is not only no smoking, it's also tells you that you can't use electronic devices. So when that light's on, no electronic devices and no smoking. I don't know if smoking's such a big deal as it used to be back in the day, but there you go. Let's get the cargo on board. Is there a door open? That door's not open. There we go. Here comes the suitcases. We don't have a jet bridge, but let's click on that and see what happens. Let's see what that does. All right, it's that that ladder is going to take the place of the jet bridge, so we can get our passengers in. Now I do have a program that actually shows passengers being loaded, but it kind of bogged my computer down, so I'm not using it currently. This works. Use your imagination. Passengers are being loaded. We got 54 on of 148. While they're doing that, I am going to go and start our APU. Now the AP, right now we're currently on external power. When they unplug that, I'm cold in the water. Since the engines aren't running, which is where we would get power to the plane, that's where the APU comes in. This is an internal generator that we have to start up to get power enough to start the engines. But that will give us power that we can then turn the external power off. So what we're going to do is turn this on, and then we're going to come down below, and that's it right here, the APU. We should see some activity here in a second. There we go. We got our flaps open. That means that we can now start the APU. And come down here again, and here we're going to see, yep, there's some action. So we'll let this load up a little bit to where we get some air bleed. We need to get air to bleed because it takes air from that generator to start the engines turning. Let's check on passengers. I'm waiting for the passengers to fully load because I actually need these weight numbers here to plug into the computer to finish that flight plan up. Let's turn the APU on here. Okay, you can hear the APU running. There's generators right in the tail here, and you can hear it running, and you can actually see the fumes coming out right there. So I'm not ready to start the engines yet though, but we do want to get the bleed going. get that air built up. So now we're just waiting for the passengers to get loaded so I can finish our flight plan. In the meantime, though, I got a couple things I can do. Let's check here. And at the airport we're at right now, the air pressure is 1022 and the temperature is 13 degrees centigrade. So we can get that in. And we're going to do that right here. And I've forgotten it as soon as I said it. 1022. All right, let's put this in here. Now we have to switch this right here to that and put in 1022. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing down here. $10.22 right here, $10.22 up here, and these two I have tied together, so they should be the same. This is the co-pilot's read, and this is captain's read. So we've got that. Double check everything else. Throttles. We want the throttles back to idle before we start this rig. All right, everything else looks okay. How the passengers doing? Hey, we're getting close. Okay, it looks like the flight crew is doing their job, and they've got almost everybody loaded, and you can see they've loaded it in such a way that we have a good center of gravity. One more. All right. All right. That's complete. We got everything in, ready to go. Now we can get those numbers that we need. All right, so the ZFW is 127,546. So 127.5, we can put that in right in here. And a slash. And
ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
all right, so we're pretty much ready to go. We've got a few more things to do. I did put the weights in, and now I need to put the fuel in. And in my flight plan, which I'll show you here, in the flight plan, I put an extra 60 minutes of fuel in because I'm a terrible pilot, and it may take me a round or two to get landed correctly. I hope not, but we'll see. I think we've got bad weather on the other end, but we'll find out. So, but what we need is the block fuel is what I'm looking for. And it is right here. Block fuel is 12620. So 12.6. $12.6 right there. All right, we got that done. We need to put our flaps in. Let's go to performance, and we're going to do a flap at takeoff right there. Okay, and then I need to get my takeoff speeds. 135, 131, and 130. So the first one the 130, once you reach 130 miles an hour on the runway, that's the point of no return. You have to take off. So if something goes wrong between 0 and 130, you can pull back on the throttle and stop the plane. Once you reach the 130 point, you have to take off. And so that's the important one. And then you want to wait till you're about 135 to actually pull back on the stick. What happens in what I've heard a few times now is that once you reach this point of no return, in real life, a pilot will take his hands off the throttle completely, because your first indication if something's wrong is you're going to want to mess with that throttle. But at that point, it's too late. You have to take off. So they will take their hand off the throttle and so that they have to take off. Anyway, a little bit of reality thrown in there, I guess. Okay, so let's got that. We're going to get started here. I'm going to start putting the fuel pumps on. Like that. Technically, I could turn the external power off, but I'm not ready to move yet, so I'll wait on that. But we do need to put our beacon on once we start our engines.
Flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check.
Once again, we'd like to welcome you on board. Your safety is our top priority, so we appreciate a few minutes of your attention while we demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. You can follow along with the safety information card in your seat back pocket. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the flat metal end into the buckle and pull on the straps tight. The release should listen half fast of the buckle. Please keep your seatbelt back and low and tight across your lap, even when the seatbelt sign is off, and have it visible to the crew at all times. Your life vest is in a pouch under your seat. If expressed by the crew, tear open the pouch, lift the vest and pull it over your head. Wrap the strap around your waist. Secure the buckle and pull the straps tight. As you exit the aircraft, the place vest by pulling down firmly on the right tab while blowing into the tubes on both sides. A locator light on the shoulder will turn on automatically in weather, and remember never place your vest inside the aircraft. This Airbus A320 is an emergency exit. Two doors in the front, 4 window exits over the
All right, let's get over to the left a little bit.
There is a change in cabin pressure for oxygen mask will drop from overhead. Firmly pull the mask towards you to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Pull the elastic band
Whoop,
around
we
your
want to
head
go that
and
way.
the straps on both sides. Even though the bags are not fully, oxygen will be flowing. Be sure to put your mask on first before helping others, and we'll let you know when
I hope that's not soft dirt over there. All right, I think what I can do is straighten this out.
For your convenience, this aircraft has 3 restrooms. One in the front of the cabin and 2 in the back. You can choose the courses and if you choose.
I just need to get it back far enough that I can get out of here. That'll keep me from going back in the dirt here, I guess. Or whatever that is. I have no idea what that is. Turn it just a little. Now, normally you would be starting your engines right now, but since I have to do a manual pushback, I can't do it. So let me set the parking brake. We're going to unhook the tug. And I'm not using a co-pilot, so I'm just by myself on here. All right, there we go. Okay, 1021, 13 degrees. I think I did that, didn't I? 21, 13 degrees. Did I do the degrees? Maybe I didn't. Let's go back inside and check. I didn't. 13 degrees. There we go. All right, I think I can turn to get out of here, but we need to start the engines. So let's head in here and let's get going with this. First of all, we need to turn this on, and then let's start engine number 1. So we have bleed pressure. This is moving up. The starting engines is from my knowledge of through osmosis watching videos. Each airline has their procedure about engine startup. Some start with one. There it goes. It's kicking off. All right, so we can go back down here and hit engine number 2. And I wasn't watching, but when this hits 25, you can kick the next one over. But anyway, each airline has its own procedure as to which engine goes on first. I don't know what difference it makes, but it must make a difference to them. Okay, so you saw right up there, it said available. That engine is available. We're just waiting for this one. That big click you heard in the background, that means that engine is pretty much ready. There we go, available. So everything's ready. Let's do some double checks on some things before we take off. We can turn the APU off here. Let's look at, let's see, the doors. All the doors are ready to go except for ours. Cockpit door. Whoops, wrong way. All right, there we go. Okay, let's now we've got engines, both engines running. We can turn the bleed off, and we can actually probably go ahead and turn that off as well. Let's get some lights on. We're going to do a runway light. We're going to do the taxi, but up to takeoff. Now this I'm not sure about. Do you taxi or do you hit the takeoff? I mean, it's a taxi light, and it would be takeoff if you're taking off. It would just be taxi if you're coming in. So let's put our wing lights on. We'll wait on the other lights for now. Smoky lights are still on. All right, I think we're ready. Let's take the brake off. Our throttles are still at idle, but it's enough to move us. Boy, this is going to be tight. Maybe I should go inside the cockpit so I don't have to see this. It might be ugly. Okay, I'm gonna stop it here for a minute, and I need to look at a map because we got to find our runway. So it's 36C. Let's see if we can find 36C. What's that one right there? That's runway 5. .36C, that's our runway right there. So we've got to come out of here, and we're going to have to go up all the way up here to get back. All right. Well, here's our runway. All right, I'm going to stop it right here. We're going to double check everything. Sounds like my throttles are there. Get those locked in. Okay, we can turn this off. We want to put one flap on. We're going to turn on our weather and our shear. We are then going to turn this to automatic, and this we're setting to TARA. Captain says prepare for takeoff. All right, we've got our cockpit door is locked. The rudder trim is in the middle. Let's see, what else do I need to check on? Let's just run up here. Everything looking okay here. Now we're gonna have an immediate left as we take off. So let's see what we got here. Let's set our initial to 10,000. 10,000 feet. That dot right there means it's in autopilot. Okay, we're going to be using auto thrusters. It's on arc. Okay, that's all ready to go. Checking down here. We can set our chrono, I guess, and then hit the chrono up here. Now I think we're ready. Brakes off. All right, I think we're lined up, ready to go. Turn the brakes on. Double check. We're not quite lined up. Okay, brakes on. One final check. Let's set this to flight plan. Actually, let's take a quick look. Okay, so okay, we hit at Tinsley. We hit our cruise speed. Our cruise at Tinsley. We hit our cruise level at 34,000 at Tinsley. All right. Okay, ready to go. Let's set our throttle. I'm just gonna go to cruise speed and see if I can do this. Okay, 130 is our have to take off. 80, 100. There's our 130 mark. Coming up, 120. All right, here we go. Okay, we're heading up. Let's get our landing gear up. And we need to start going left. Let me see if I can hit autopilot and auto thrust. And we're on our way to San Jose. Not a San Jose, that's California. All right, we're climbing, that's good. Speed is good. Altimeter. Hey, we get out of the clouds. Sweet. Kind of nasty looking clouds. So far, so good. Check our fuel. I should have done that before we took off. Yeah, it's okay. All right, nothing in the center. Everything's in the wings. Doors were okay. We already checked that. Engines are looking good. Oh. APU is off. Everything's looking good up here. We don't need our landing lights on. We can turn our taxi off now. Runway lights can go off. I don't know, maybe others use those, but just sit back and enjoy the flight for a little bit. I'm still climbing pretty steadily, so I'm going to wait before I hit the no smoking and seatbelt signs. All right, now here's one thing that I do. I'd say it was a pro tip, but everybody does it. I don't know if it's a pro tip or not. It doesn't. Okay, so if I look down here, you can take your instruments. I usually leave this one alone, but I like to have this one out so I can see my route. So you hit your right Alt on your keyboard and click on that, and it pulls it out. Now you can increase the size of it. And then what I do with it, you can either leave it out here if you want to, But I have a second monitor, so I'll take it out and put it in that second monitor. That way I've always got my eye on it, even if I'm looking elsewhere. I can still see it. Wow, lots of clouds, huh? I wonder what the weather's like on the other end. I found this route. Somebody did a tutorial flight, and I liked the route, but the one they did their flight on was reversed. They started in Atlanta and went to North Carolina, and I've done that a couple times now, just following that guide. I decided to go backwards, and last night I came in. Atlanta had the bad weather, and actually North Carolina was okay. The weather was fine. The only problem was it got dark on me, and I had to land in the dark, which was okay. We got her done. Okay, we're at our 10,000 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and let the passengers loose. All righty. How's everything else looking? Everything's looking okay. Looking at the autopilot's all doing fine. We're getting ready to... that's going to be hard to see. Let me zoom in there. We're looking for... We're getting close to Lachlan. You notice it's white. It's because we haven't got there yet. And it's up here. We got 2.4 miles to go before we reach there. As soon as we do, then this one's going to turn white, and it'll show up here. One thing I didn't do that I normally do, and I actually, it just slipped my mind. When you're on the runway, it'll show you the heading that the runway is facing. Generally, just in case something goes wrong, you would set that heading in here manually. Some people do, some people don't. But they would set the heading in. That way, if something goes wrong, they've got that runway heading set on the computer. All right, you notice that one went green. This one became white, and it says we got 9 miles to go. So that's why I like to have this thing over in the other monitor, so I can keep track of it at all times. I know where I'm at. I know how far I have to go. We don't reach our cruising altitude until Tinsley here. All right, sit back and relax. Smoke them if you got them. Drink it if you got it. All right, while we're in here, I want to double check everything on the engines. Yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure I put the flaps back up. So we're doing good. So far, so good. Okay, 2.7 miles to engine in good. All right. We got Bobsy coming up in 4 miles. So I'm having a lot of fun with this game. It is a time waster, if you want to say it that way. It takes a lot of time. I mean, look at this flight. We've already been in it for what? I don't know, an hour, 40 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes. And we barely started our... Now, here we go. So I'm having a ton of fun with this game. It takes a lot of time. So I don't know, would you consider it a time waster? I don't think it's wasted. I'm getting entertainment out of it, but I'm still I still suck at this game. I still suck at it. I'm not a good pilot. I did okay taking off here. That wasn't bad, actually. It was probably one of the better ones I've had. Usually there's alarms going off. Either I've hit the speed too high or not hit enough speed. And I think that we're still in cruise. Yeah, we're still in cruise. That's what that little mark right there is. That's your flex. That's your flex takeoff. I take off here most of the time if I've got a decent runway that's quite long. I'll take off at cruise speed because I have problem with my throttle. My two throttles are, I only have one throttle on this HOTUS. On my other HOTUS, I've got two throttles. This one I only have one. And so I have to tie these two together, these two engines together on that. And they don't match up, and I've tried to calibrate them, but I'm having trouble. I haven't quite got there yet. And so you've got your cruise speed, you've got your flex, and you've got your toga. Your toga means to go around, so that's full power. So if you were coming down to land and something's going wrong, then, and you have to take off again and try, go around and do a second try, that's your toga. That's your full power. That's balls to the floor. So and you'll notice there's not much difference between the toga and the flex. Every time I've tried to take off at flex, which is what most people do, I get bells and klaxons going off, and I get warnings on my speed and my toga. And because my throttles don't quite match up, it doesn't quite click in. It's supposed to, as you're throwing that throttle, there's an indent there, and it's supposed to click in. I have to kind of wiggle it to get it to click both throttles in at that level. And that's when I get into trouble with the flex. Because when I'm going up to take off, if I go all the way to flex and one of them clicks in but the other doesn't, and I have to wiggle it, that toga light then goes off and I get warnings and stuff like that. So if I've got a long runway, I'll just take off at the cruise speed. It's a little bit slower. I need a little bit more runway, but it seems to be working for me. But yeah, usually I'll get a toga up here or I'll get an A-plane. Oh gosh, is that what it's called? There's another warning that I'll get on the speed. And, I just have to turn the warnings off and fix the problem. So you can fix the problem by cutting off the auto thrust and changing your speed, putting it back where it's supposed to be, and hit the auto thrust back again, and it'll turn those lights off. Okay, so we're getting close to Tinsley. Tinsley, that's 1 mile to go. So I'm going to wait and see if the autopilot takes it up to 35,000. If it doesn't, I might leave it because this is a pretty short flight. So technically, I'd go up to cruising altitude at this point. It doesn't look like it's going to do it. It's going to keep me at 10. I'm surprised at that. There is a little bit of turbulence up here. All right, we got 14 miles, nautical miles to Levi. And then we're going to take another little bit of a turn at Levi. Take my word for it, there is some beautiful country down there. I flew this route the other day, and it's beautiful. The reason the weather is the way it is I've got it set to live weather. So that means that this area that we're flying over, this is the weather they're having right now. We must have run into something. Those engines are whining. Hey, there's blue sky. Technically, I should have went up. I'll tell you why I didn't. I'm still not good enough. Where I have the problem, I didn't have a problem taking off. It's my landing. And a lot of it happens that I can't get the right speed and the right altitude to come down and let the computer bring me in. So I'm trying to stay. If I went to 35,000, I'd have a little bit of trouble getting down fast enough to get to my landing. All right, got 4 miles to go, and then we're going to take a little bit of a turn to the left. That's cool. Yeah, we got some breaks in clouds. There is land below us, and looks like civilization. All right, we're looking at Aussie. Aussie is 93 miles away. We're in a little bit of a turn here. Let's look at our route. So Aussie, Aussie and Harry. Is that Aussie and Harriet, the old TV show? So, and again, look, we've only got to Cala, and we were supposed to be down to 9,000. So if I'd have went all the way up from 10 to 34,000, there wouldn't be that much longer that I'd have to come right back down again. So I kind of am cheating a little bit there. And then from Cali, we go to Posey, where we drop down to 8. And then we come down to Zello, where we come down to 5. And this is when we decelerate. This is our point right here of getting ready to land. And then we'll bring us down to 4,000 at Bamboo and 1,050. That's the airport right there. All right, so that's what we'll prepare for. All righty, that's what we need to look forward to. Wow, that's a nasty cloud. Are we having to, oh my God. All right, let's see. We can probably go to standard. All right, I'm going to look here and see. We've got 1021. It's the same barometric pressure, so we don't have to change that. The temperature's different, but not by much. 5 degrees. All right, we've been flying for 23 minutes. That's from when I set the chronometer. 76 miles to go before we hit Aussie. 57 miles, 56 miles to Aussie. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, but it's interesting because it's fun, it's frustrating, it's scary, it's a lot of different things. And I have days where I do okay flying, depending on the plane I'm in. I've been trying to get in the Boeing 747. Now, you think that this Airbus is big. That Boeing looks, this thing looks like a mini-me plane next to that Boeing, that 747. And I've been flying that a little bit, just trying to get the controls. And, you know, it's a lot more, that plane is a lot more automated. It's a lot more sophisticated, and it's interesting. It's a little bit different, and it's interesting to fly. But the thing of it is, most of the time, I barely make it. I've not crashed in a while, but my landings have not been pretty either. I had a flight to Tucson, from Tucson to Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, and about, 3-4 days ago, and everything went perfectly. Now, when I say perfectly, that's perfectly for me. I might have missed things, and I might not have done things to procedure and that kind of thing. But to me, it was a perfect flight. I got off the airport. I got into the air. Everything was great, and I had a perfect landing. A perfect landing. I've never had a perfect landing before, and that was in a 747. So I'm still not quite there on the 747. I'm getting the Airbus down as far as what I need to do and what I'm looking at and what it means. I'm getting there. I still have to work on the landings, and there's more to it than just coming in and landing. I mean, you got to be at the right speed, at the right altitude, and everything has to be just right to get a perfect landing. And not everybody does. I know guys that have been doing this. They fly every day in these things for the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And every once in a while, they'll be shocked at one of their landings. I was watching one the other day, and he came down. Everything was perfect. And when he hit, you could just feel it almost. It was, and he gave out a little squeak and said, "Oh my God, what happened?" He didn't mean to hit that hard. So, it shocked him. It looked like a damn good landing to me, but I would have been happy. I mean, half the time I'm bouncing 3 or 4 times before I actually come to a stop. Wow, look at that cloud. That's a nasty looking, oh my goodness, look what I just flew through. Holy moly. Now these are what the clouds look like with my computer turned down. I've had to turn my computer down to run this game. I've only got a 1080 graphics card, a 1080 Ti for the win. It's still a damn good card, but it hasn't got the power of the 20s and the 30s. So the one I'm looking at, I have a choice between a 1080, a 3080 and a 3090. Get rid of some of that noise. The computer I'm looking at building or buying, I'm looking at the 380 or the 390. Now the 380 I can get for a few $100s. The 3090 is $1,300. I could buy a decent computer, complete, for $1,300. It wouldn't be the best gaming computer, but it would be a decent computer. My God, that's just for the GPU. So, looking at what difference that would make to me between the 3080 and the 3090 is negligible, especially when you compare the price. So I'm probably going to stick with the 3080 and just make sure that, everything else is up to snuff. I'm looking at an i7 processor. And an NVIDIA 3080. Maybe 32 gigs of RAM. And then, I don't know. I usually put a larger hard drive in for Windows. I like Windows to be on its own hard drive. I always have. And then I have, other hard drives in there that I put my games and programs on. So, boy, I'm looking at the map there. Harry and Calla are really close together. And then it looks like we're going to have to start coming down after that. Right here. As soon as I get a little closer to Aussie, I'm going to start coming down. So let's look at that. Right, Aussie coming up. Yeah, Calla, Harry, I should probably be down to 9 because they're so close together. And then I have to be down to 8 and then 7. So I think what I'm going to do is just about the time I get to Aussie, I'm going to come down to 8 because it'll take me time to get down there. Or I'm going to set it to 8. And then at Posey, I'll set it to 5 so that I'm down. By the time I get to Zelo, I'll be 5. Hey, we got a cloud break. There's a tree farm down there. Imagine that. That Tucson to Dallas trip, I flew over part of the Grand Canyon, the north part of the Grand Canyon. That was kind of cool. I'm thinking about doing that one again in a jumbo jet. What do they call them now? They used to call them jumbo jets. I don't know what they call them anymore. Anyway, commercial jet. I'm going to do a flight from there, Tucson to Dallas, Texas. And then I'm thinking about doing another one in a bush style plane where I can kind of fly around and see the sights at a lower altitude. So I'm thinking about doing a prop one, maybe one of those beach crafts that hold about 8 people. All right, we got about 12 miles to Aussie. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring this down to 8. Set that. And it probably won't. No, it's starting to come down a little bit. I gotta start watching my speed now though as I'm coming down.
Take care of as we prepare for approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated till the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
Okay, so they've sensed that I am coming down, so let me put the seatbelt signs back on and the no smoking. $18 miles to Aussie. If you look at it now, you can see we're really coming in right now. We're just tied to all of these. There's our descent right there, just at zero, like we were saying. But if you take a look at that, we're pretty damn close. We got things happening really fast right in here. That's the exciting part. It was scary exciting, and it still is, but not quite as bad as it was. I came down pretty hard the other day, and my sister came in, and she said, "So where are you flying to?" And I told her, and I said, I just had a rough landing." And she goes, "How many people were involved?" I said, 100. I think I had 158 souls on board. So, but I said, it's okay. I made it down. All right, we're turning a little bit. 10 miles to Harry, so we're past Aussie. And we should be coming down pretty soon. We're down to 9. We'll be coming down as soon as we hit Harry, I think. We'll be coming down to 8. As soon as we hit 8, I'll set it for 5 so we can be down at 5 by the time we get to Zelo. Now at this point, it's still being controlled by the autopilot, because you can see I set it at 8 a while back, but it's not coming down to 8 yet. The autopilot is still setting it from the flight plan, and that's okay. It wants us to enter our destination data, and that's fine. I pretty much set it before we leave, though. So the only thing I need to worry about really is the barometric pressure. And as far as I can tell, it's the same. It's already set for that, so we'll be okay. Everything's all set. We should be fine. Now, there's a few things that I'm going to have to do, but status is all good. All right, we're coming down, should be pretty quick at Cala. Two miles to go. Yeah, you can see it's dropping right here. It should be starting to go down. It should be going down 8 here. There we go. Okay, we're starting to drop. I'm going to go ahead to the autopilot, bring it down to 5. Right there. And then there's some other things we can do. Let's make sure we've got our speed brake armed. We're going to get ready and start doing some flats when we get down lower and closer. Before I forget, I'm going to maybe pop these lights on. I'm probably way early on that, but the problem is I'm still not very good at this. And as you can see from here, things are going to happen really fast. There's the airport right there. I've got to get the plane down. I've got to get it lined up with the landing strip. Everything has to be perfect, and I really am not fast enough to jump back and forth on lights. So I'll go ahead and set them now and have that out of the way. So we're down to 8,000. We'll be coming down to 5 here pretty quick. Take a peek outside. We're going to run into some weather here on the ground. I might have trouble seeing the airstrip, the runway. Okay, so our speed, as you come down, now the auto throttle will try to hold that speed down and still come down in altitude at the same time. And it does a pretty good job if you program it correctly. I've had some trouble with that. So you can see we're coming down. We're at 7,000 now. Got it set to 5. At Bamboo, we should be down to 4. And actually, it doesn't hurt for me to bring it down to 4 now, I don't think. So we'll do that. And in 2 miles, we'll be swinging to the right and lining up with the airstrip. Here we're going into the soup. What's the soup du jour? Clouds. This is gonna be fun. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay, let's see here. We need to do, let's make sure we've got some auto brakes on. And we already set the speed brakes. Okay. We're down to 5,000. I'm going to go ahead and set it. It wants us to go all the way down to 1,500, so I'm going to get that set in now. We better start coming down pretty quick. What's our speed? 220. I'm gonna set the speed down a little bit. Let's set the speed down. 208. All right, let's hit approach. And we're looking at that right there. Let's hit that. So we're lined up with the runway and we're in the glide slope. I'm going to drop the landing gear. That should help us slow down a little bit.
$2,500. $2,500.
I don't see the runway yet. Whoop. I didn't mean to do that. There's the runway.
$1,000.
I'm a little low. Pick the nose up a little bit.
500. 500.
Too low. Terrain.
Yeah, I figured. I'll be fine.
Too low.
It'll be
Terrain.
fine. Shut the hell up.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
500.
Too low. Terrain. 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 Too low. Terrain.
I'm off a little bit.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
Come on.
Too low. Terrain.
Retard. 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 Retard.
Oh, that was bad.
Retard.
That was bad. It was looking so good. But hey, we're down safe. I think what happened was I wasn't fast enough to get the glide slope locked in, and I was messing with the stick, and I accidentally took it out of autopilot a little bit earlier than I wanted to. So it was pilot error, but we're down safe. That's the main thing. It wasn't pretty. Man, it was looking so good too. I was coming in straight, but I missed that glide slope. I was on it, but I didn't get it locked in. Oh well, I feel good. I'm down safe. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I'm just going to pull it in here and we'll call it a day. I don't think this is big enough for me, but I'm going to park here anyway. Yeah, this is not big enough. This is a medium size. Notice my wings are too big. I think this is a medium spot here. Yeah, we'll just park it right here. Turn all this junk off. Okay. Wow. That was exciting. Oh man, when I was coming down, it felt so good because everything was lined up. My speed was looking good. And then at the last minute, I was messing with the stick. And I must have pushed too hard down on it. And it shut my autopilot off a little bit sooner than I wanted it to. All right, so what else we got? We got engines running right now. That's turned off. My flaps are down or up, down, sideways. I can actually, at this point, cut the engines. Come up here, turn the fuel pumps off. There. We've already got external power, so we're okay with the engines not running. And we can turn off our GPSs. And lights can go off. What else we need to do? That's probably pretty much everything. At this point, the engines are down, are coming down. They're not quite down yet, but they're coming down. I could probably wait for that. Or not. Brakes are hot. Imagine that. I had to hit them pretty damn hard. On the 747, there's a fan for the brakes. That's kind of cool. So our time was 61 minutes. It took us an hour on that flight. Engines are pretty much down. I'm going to go ahead and cut power. And we're down. There we are. I hope you had fun. It was scary for me. My heart's still pounding. Wow, darn it. It was almost a perfect landing if I'd have just kept my hand off that damn stick. It's hard to do because I'm used to the manual landing. And I was going to do a manual landing, but I wanted to keep the autopilot on just a little bit longer so that I stayed lined up with that runway. Then you cut it when you're down, but I kind of goofed up. But hey, all ends well. We're down and we're safe. Hope you had fun. Hope to see you next time. Ta-ta for now.